My name is Zephra Rice. I am a 21-year-old student at Bethany College in Lynchburg. My hometown is McPherson. It's about a 20-mile drive south from here. Lovely little town. The art scene, not as good as Salina, but I hope one day we'll get there. But I do ceramic pottery and ceramic sculpture, and my latest projects have been my insect pottery, which I have always had a passing fascination with insects in the beginning, but my true fascination with them and their necessity often began when I started gardening. It's when you have a garden, and a pretty prolific garden too, filled to the brim with insects. We have hundreds of grasshoppers, like dozens and dozens of wasps, flies, of course. The flies love the compost pile. Um, we get spiders too. House spiders love those. They keep the gnats away. We used to have gnats, and then we stopped killing the spiders, and now we don't have gnats anymore. Fascinating. Um, but the focus of my project um, are to create a safe environment for people to be able to um, sort of be around and kind of interact with insects in an environment where they don't have to feel the fear of being around real insects, because fear of bugs of any kind are incredibly prolific in our society today. And it's not good. It's currently commercial pesticides cause more problems than they solve. They cause imbalances in the insect food chain. So you got predator and prey relationships often with insects. So once you get rid of the predator, people don't like wasps. People are so unnecessarily just afraid of wasps. And so they kill the wasps. And then they wonder why they have aphid problems, or why there's so many like mosquitoes. And well, you got rid of nature's pesticide, nature's natural pesticide. They keep it's. I just want people to like bugs as much as I do. They're really cool. My process honestly generally begins in the research. It takes a, a while. It takes, when I start a piece, it takes a couple of days, because I have to first decide what insect to do. Then I have to look up reference photos of like every angle I can. Because even though I can't get it scarily accurate, I want it to be as accurate as possible. Um, and then I have to learn about not only their diet, but their habitat. It's some of my earlier works don't include the diet and habitat portions, but ones that I'm currently working on, it's a big part of it, because it's in order to learn the max about an insect, you want to know everything there is to know about them. And the habitat they live in honestly just makes fantastic decorative pieces. But after the research portion is complete, and I usually have 5 sheets of reference photos printed out, um, then I wheel throw the base of the sculpture of what it's going to be, because I'm a big fan of functional pottery. You could technically eat out of anything that I'm making. You could put a pot of soup in it or something, which I think is great. I love functional wear, but I also love mixing decorative with functional. I like that it can be both, even if it generally won't be used as both, because you can, but I'm not saying you should store soup inside a wasp pot. Um, but I use a variety of clays for my current project, um, which is going to be the centerpiece for my senior showcase. I'm going to make it out of porcelain, but generally, just for ease of access, generally I just use a cone 6 stoneware buff, just because we have a lot of it, and it's easy to recycle when need be. Um, I use stains when I can. I love staining the clay body, like on my wasp pottery, in order to get the unique sort of pattern and texture that a paper wasp nest has. Because when a paper wasp builds its nest, it does it in layer and layer and layer. And I wanted to be able to get that layering um, without needing to spend 35 hours doing underglaze work. So I stained the clay brown and gray and really dark gray too, two different grays. Um, and I wedged those together to marble them, like agate ware, sort of. Um, but then I rolled it out into slabs that I then layered onto it to create sort of that effect. So I love involving stains in coloring the body. Not always necessary, but very fun. Um, so after that's done, after it's usually had its bisque fire, is when I paint it with underglaze. I just use the normal Amco, Duncan, commercial underglazes. Um, Great range of colors that I can achieve with mixing them. Um, so they form a very good palette to work with. Um, Sometimes, though, I will fire the piece to maturity before I start painting it with underglaze, due to the delicate nature of some of the components. I want them to be as strong as possible before I start to mess with them, which is good because otherwise pieces fall off. You recklessly accidentally bump something, there goes a mushroom. It happens. It can be glued on later, but it's better if it isn't. Um, it's better if it's all there naturally. But after the painting, I just dip it or paint where need be in a clear cone 6 glaze, and then it's fired and finished and ready for flowers, or if you really want to, some soup.